Now we're going to talk about Lake Baikal, okay? Because I told y'all we were going to talk about that. So, so Lake Baikal, I don't know if y'all are familiar with it. Very interesting. So it is. I try to do as much of this from memory as I can. I wrote some notes down, but so this is in Siberia, which is a part of Russia, Soviet Union, where it used to be. Um, it is the. It's not the widest, but it's the deepest lake in the world, in the whole world, y'all. Okay, so it's about, if you can imagine, I think it was if you talk about the feet, which is like it's like 5,000 something feet. It equates to something like two football fields or deep, or like you could even say like I think it was a mile or 2 miles, 2 miles, over 2 miles deep or something. It was crazy, right? Crazy deep. And it was created, I believe, by tectonic plates shifting, and then natural like snow and ice and stuff filling it up. It's extremely clear water. They say that you can see as far as I think it's like 30 feet down. You can see clear. So in most lakes or regular lakes are like that would be like, so if you think about a lake that's close to where you live and how deep it is, you could probably see all the way down to the bottom of that lake, because most lakes are not that deep. So it's kind of crazy to think about that, because there's one off the top of my head that's close to where we live, and I cannot imagine seeing to the bottom of it. But you would be able to, based on if you're comparing how clear that lake is. Also, it has a very high oxygen content to it. So it's got such a high amount of oxygen that it actually causes gigantism in some of the species. They get oversized, I guess, because of the oxygen, which is kind of crazy. Who was saying earlier, I think, was it a non-mouse? Somebody was saying earlier, talking about the seals. They actually have specific species that live only there at that lake, nowhere else, that are native to that lake and have just like been there forever in just that lake. So like they have their own seals, freshwater seals, and what else? Um, there's I can't really go into the ghost story a whole lot because I didn't really read enough about it. But there's like it was a Russian army that was called the White Army, that one time when it was all froze over, that they were forced to cross this lake back. I don't know if I wrote the year down somewhere, but at some point they were forced to cross it, and a bunch of them died. And so there's like all this lore about ghosts and stuff from these soldiers that died there. And what else? There is, okay, yeah, look at my notes. Because I know the main thing I'm going to talk about this lake, but is there anything else that I was going to mention about it before I go into the rest of it? I don't think so. Oh yeah. So there's also, the other thing was, there's supposedly there's sunken treasure there. People believe there's treasure at the bottom of this lake too, which is kind of interesting. So back in like the early, it's like 1980s, I believe. I think it's 1982, right around that area. Some Russian Navy soldiers, I guess you call them soldiers, military, they were doing an exercise in that lake. There was 7 of them, and they're very experienced divers, like some of the best. And so they go down into this lake, and they're doing this stuff about, I think it's something like 50 feet down, or 50 meters. Let's see, wait, hang on. What did I write? I think it was 50 meters down that they were. And so they're down there. So this is something else interesting about this lake. So they come across these, all I can say is they called them humanoid. So they're like humans, not saying they were humans, but they were like humanoid-like creatures. that were 10 feet tall. Okay, 10 feet tall. They've called these things the swimmers, and so these things are down there, down inside this the deepest lake in the world, and they've got these silvery suits on. This is back at a time where like the stuff that they're wearing had looked nothing like any regular gear that any regular person would wear down there. These silvery suits, and then they had these see-through spherical things on their heads, and they look like they appeared like they were just standing still in the water. They're just like in the water, down deep in the water, but they're very still, and they're all kind of in a line, and they had very long arms, very long legs, like longer than normal, and they were just staring. They're just there, and so they see these things, and well, I don't know which one of them had the idea to capture these things, but and it's my conspiracy theory. It's my conspiracy theory that I think somebody in their military knew about that they were already down there. Like I think they were literally sent down there. My opinion. This is not true. This part's not true at all. It's just my opinion that somebody up top knew that these things were there, and that they were already going to try to capture them in the first place. That's just my thing. But the story is that they didn't know they were down there, and then somebody, one of the team, probably one of the superiors, says like capture them, right? So they get this big net. They have a net, like somebody's got a net, like, and they go to grab this big net and they start unraveling it to like try to capture them. And as soon as these things, these entities or whatever, they weren't doing anything wrong to these people, the soldiers or whatever, until they tried to capture them. Which, you know, you think to yourself, like, why are they going to even do this in the first place? They really shouldn't have tried to do that, but they did. So when they did this, when they tried to capture them, only then this unknown force. This is what they said. It was this unknown force. I don't know what it was, but it happened all at once. It hits all of these, what do you call them, divers? This force hits all the divers, all 7 divers at once, and it pushes all of them. Now these things are still standing there. They're not doing anything. They're not moving. But this force, when they go to capture them, hits all the divers, pushes them up to the top of the water at a high rate of speed. All at once. I'm like, they didn't see anything. This just all happened at once, just like bam. Didn't make any sense. Nobody understood it. But so if you know anything about diving, so when you go to a certain depth, there's all this pressure under the water, and you get a lot of nitrogen in your lungs, more than you normally would, and it goes throughout your body. Well, as you're going into this pressure under the water, this nitrogen starts to accumulate in your body and your tissues and your blood, and like you get a high rate of nitrogen. So on your way back up, they have to go up like slowly, and then they have to stop, and then they have to kind of go up more, and then they have to stop. And so what they're trying to do is avoid compression sickness or decompression sickness. So because if you go up too fast, it can kill you. It can make you sick and or kill you, depending on what the situation. But so like I said, when they tried to capture these things, whatever they were, they got shot to the top. You know, they just pushed to the top. That's it. Well, obviously that was not good. And so when they got to the top of the water, they all had that sickness. They got what they call the bends. And so they only had their decompression chamber that they have at the top could only hold 2 people, which is pretty messed up, really, if you think about it. That you got, 7 divers that need it, but they're only like, oh, we just got to pick the 2 of you that's in the worst shape, and you 2 get to go in the chamber, and the rest of you, well, sorry about that, and it's pretty messed up. So, needless to say, a few of them died. I think of like about 4 of them, like 3 or 4 of them died from this, from getting pushed up to the water too quickly. And the other ones didn't. They didn't do well. They didn't recover well. None of them were really good after this. So they tried to hide this, obviously